In the middle of the children's hospital lobby, CEO Astrid Whitmore stood at the podium, mid-speech, then she froze. At the entrance, a single father named Carter Hale carried his little daughter, his shirt soaked from the rain, clutching a wad of crumpled hospital bills. The girl looked up just as the spotlight hit her eyes. Astrid went pale. Those amber-brown eyes, identical to Emily's. The daughter she'd buried 10 years ago. She broke down right there, in front of hundreds. It can't be. Carter Hale was 36 years old. Quiet strength lived in his calloused hands. He worked as a freelance maintenance technician, fixing air conditioners, generators, electrical systems, whatever paid. His wife had died 5 years earlier in a car accident, leaving him alone with their daughter. Since then, he'd lived with one constant fear: losing someone else he loved. That fear made him careful, suspicious of the wealthy, wary of institutions. But it also made him observant. He could spot inconsistencies in paperwork the way he spotted faulty wiring, a skill that would soon matter more than he knew. His daughter Lily was 7 years old, smart beyond her years. Those distinctive amber eyes held something ancient, something knowing. She had a rare blood disorder that required regular monitoring. This week, it had gotten worse. The local clinic couldn't handle it. They'd sent Carter to Whitmore Children's Hospital, the place he couldn't afford. Lily had a small birthmark behind her left ear. Most people never noticed it. Carter touched it sometimes when she slept. A tiny reminder that she was real, that she was his. Astrid Whitmore ran the largest private healthcare system in the state. At 36, she was known for two things: excellence and control. 10 years ago. She'd lost her daughter Emily in what the hospital called a medical emergency. Respiratory failure following a routine procedure. The death certificate was signed. The ashes were delivered. The case was closed. Since that day, Astrid had become obsessed with patient safety. Zero tolerance for mistakes. She'd rebuilt the entire system with that mission. But beneath the polished exterior, she carried a wound that never healed, a question she'd never dared to ask. What if something had been wrong? What if the doctors had lied? Her executive team walked on eggshells around her. Vivian Moore, the chief operating officer, managed Astrid's public image with military precision. Dermot Kane, the director of the Children's Hospital, had been promoted shortly after Emily's death. Bernie Knox ran internal security with an iron fist. They all knew one thing: never mention Emily. The hospital had just opened a new pediatric wing, fully funded by Astrid's foundation. Today was the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Local news cameras, donors in suits, families with sick children invited to show the hospital's compassion. Astrid's speech was about accessibility, about making sure no child was turned away. Carter arrived at the registration desk holding Lily's hand. She was pale, leaning against him. The clerk asked for insurance. Carter handed over his old policy card. The system rejected it. The clerk's voice went cold. We'll need a deposit of $1,500 before admission. Carter felt his chest tighten. She's sick. She needs help now. Hospital policy, sir. He looked at Lily. Her eyes were unfocused. She swayed. Carter caught her before she fell. His panic override everything else. He lifted her into his arms and ran toward the lobby, toward the voices and the lights, toward anyone who might help. The ceremony was in full swing. Astrid stood at the podium, finishing her speech. We promise that no child will be left behind. Not here. Not ever. The audience applauded. Camera flashes erupted. Then Carter burst through the doors. Rain-soaked, desperate. Lily limp in his arms. The security lights caught them. For a split second, Lily's eyes opened. She looked up. The spotlight hit her face. Astrid saw those eyes across the crowded room. Amber brown. The exact shade. The exact shape. Time stopped. Her prepared remarks died in her throat. Her hands began to shake. She couldn't breathe. The microphone picked up her broken gasp. The audience shifted, confused. Astrid took one step forward, then another. Her vision blurred with tears. She didn't care about the cameras anymore. She didn't care about anything except those eyes. "No," she whispered. Then louder. "No, it can't." Vivian appeared at her elbow, trying to pull her back. Security moved toward Carter, thinking he was causing a disturbance. But Astrid pushed through. She pointed at Carter and Lily with a shaking hand. Her voice cracked. "Take them, VIP suite. Now." The entire lobby fell silent. Someone dropped a glass. Astrid's tears fell freely now. Mascara streaking down her face. She couldn't explain it, couldn't rationalize it. All she knew was that looking at that little girl felt like looking at a ghost, her ghost. Carter stood frozen, overwhelmed. He didn't understand what was happening. All he knew was that his daughter was sick, and this powerful woman was crying because of her. Security approached carefully, no longer hostile. "Sir, please come with us." Within minutes, Lily was in the best pediatric suite in the building. Doctors swarmed. Carter watched from the corner, numb with confusion. He'd expected to be kicked out. Instead, he'd been given a private room. Top-tier care. No mention of payment. Vivian appeared in the hallway. Her expression tight, she pulled Bernie aside. "Find out everything about that man, now." Her voice was low, urgent. "I need his background, his financials, his connections, everything." Bernie nodded and disappeared. Vivian turned to watch through the window as Astrid sat beside Lily's bed, staring at the child with an expression that terrified her. This wasn't professional concern. This was something else, something dangerous. Inside the room, Astrid couldn't take her eyes off Lily. The girl was awake now, connected to monitors. Her colour was returning with treatment. She looked at Astrid with curiosity, not fear. "Why were you crying?" Astrid's breath caught. "You reminded me of someone. Someone you loved." The question was so direct, so innocent. Astrid nodded, unable to speak. Lily reached out and touched Astrid's hand. Don't be sad. My dad says remembering people means they're still with you. Astrid broke again, silently this time. She glanced at Carter, who watched from across the room with wary eyes. He saw everything. The tears, the trembling, the way Astrid looked at Lily like she'd seen a miracle, and it scared him. Later, when the doctors had left, Carter approached Astrid directly. What's happening here? Why are you doing this? Astrid struggled to find words that made sense. I lost a child once. 10 years ago, your daughter. She has the same eyes. She paused. I'm sorry, I know that sounds insane. Carter's jaw tightened. So this is charity guilt? No, I don't know what this is. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. I don't need your pity, and I don't want my daughter caught up in whatever this is for you. Astrid met his gaze. Beneath his anger, she saw the same thing she felt. Fear. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, I promise you that. But Carter had heard promises before, from hospital administrators, from insurance companies, from people with power. They all meant the same thing until they didn't. That night, Vivian received Bernie's report. Carter Hale was exactly what he appeared to be. No criminal record, no suspicious connections. His wife had died in a documented accident. He was barely making ends meet. But one detail stood out. Lily had been born at a small hospital that had once been part of the Whitmore network, before Astrid's takeover. Before the restructuring, Vivian brought the file to Astrid's office at midnight. She found her boss sitting in the dark, staring at a photo on her desk. Emily, age 2. Those amber eyes bright with life. You need to stop this. Vivian said quietly. Whatever you're thinking, it's not real. Astrid didn't look up. I need her medical records, Lily's records. That's a violation of... I don't care. Vivian sat down. Astrid, listen to me. The media saw you break down. They're already speculating if this goes any further. If you start digging into that man's daughter, she paused, it could destroy everything you've built. I need to know. Know what? That a random child has similar eyes, that's not evidence of anything. Astrid finally looked at her. Then get me Emily's file, the original one, from 10 years ago. Vivian went very still. Why? Because I want to compare them. That case is sealed. You sealed it yourself. Then unseal it. The next morning, Astrid made arrangements. She asked Dr. Ingrid Shaw, the head of pediatric emergency, to run comprehensive blood work on Lily. The medical justification was sound. Lily's condition required it, but Astrid added one quiet request. Save an extra sample, just in case. Ingrid was no fool. She'd worked in this hospital for 15 years. She'd seen things that didn't add up. She agreed, but with a warning. If you're looking for something specific, you need to tell me. I can't, not yet. Meanwhile, Carter noticed things. The way staff whispered when he passed. The way security seemed to always be nearby. The way Lily's paperwork took longer than it should. He wasn't stupid. Something was happening behind the scenes, and it involved his daughter. He asked to be moved to a standard room, to pay like everyone else, but every time he mentioned it, he was told no. By order of administration, he felt trapped, indebted, exactly what he'd feared. While Vivian investigated Carter, Astrid launched her own quiet inquiry. She submitted a formal request to access Emily's file from the archive. It took 3 days to arrive. When it did, she opened it alone in her office. Her hands shook as she turned the pages. Death certificate, signed by Dr. Henry Barlow. Respiratory failure. Time of death, 3:20 a.m. Next of kin notified. Body released to cremation services. But something was wrong. The autopsy report that should have been attached was missing. In its place was a one-page summary. No detailed findings, no photographs, no pathology review. Just a single paragraph stating that the cause of death was consistent with respiratory complications. Astrid had reviewed hundreds of death certificates in her career. She knew what a complete file looked like. This wasn't it. She checked the cremation release form. It listed a third-party funeral service. One she didn't recognize, a contractor that no longer existed. She called the hospital's legal department. Dante Ross answered. "What do you need? I want to know why Emily's file is incomplete." The silence on the other end was too long. "Astrid, that's a closed case." "That's not what I asked. Leave it alone, please." "Why, what are you hiding?" Dante's voice hardened. "I'm not hiding anything. But if you start digging into old cases, especially your own daughter's, people will ask questions, questions that could sink this entire organization." She hung up. Her chest felt tight. Dante was scared. Of what? She searched the hospital directory for Dr. Henry Barlow, the man who'd signed Emily's death certificate. His employment had ended abruptly 10 years ago, 2 weeks after Emily's death. No forwarding information, no references, just gone. Astrid hired a private investigator that afternoon. Find Henry Barlow. Find out why he left. Find out what he knows. While Astrid dug into the past, Corbin Slate was digging into the present. He was a freelance investigative journalist with a nose for scandal. The moment he saw the footage of Astrid Whitmore crying at the ceremony, he knew there was a story. He started asking questions. Who was the man? Why did the CEO react that way? What happened next? He found Carter's name through a hospital source. A maintenance worker with a sick kid. Nothing special. Except the CEO had personally intervened to give him VIP treatment. Why Corbin started following the thread, and the more he pulled, the more things unravelled. Vivian noticed Corbin's inquiries. She called an emergency meeting with Dermot Kane and Bernie Knox. "We have a media problem. That journalist is sniffing around." Dermot leaned back in his chair. "Offer him something else. A different story. Something clean." He doesn't want clean, he wants the truth. Bernie spoke up. Then we make sure he doesn't find it. Vivian turned to him. What does that mean? It means we protect the hospital and the CEO, even if she's not thinking clearly right now. That night, someone broke into the hospital's archive room. Security cameras showed a figure in a maintenance uniform entering just after midnight. They left 20 minutes later. The next morning, Ingrid discovered something wrong in the lab. The extra blood sample she'd saved from Lily Hale had been moved, almost lost in the shuffle of routine specimens. She went directly to Astrid. Someone tried to bury Lily's sample. I caught it by accident. Astrid felt ice run through her veins. Who has access to the lab? Security, administration, senior medical staff. Someone inside is trying to stop me. Stop you from what? Astrid looked at her. This woman had been loyal for 15 years. She could trust her, or she had no one. I think Lily might be my daughter. The daughter I thought died 10 years ago. Ingrid's face went pale. That's impossible. Is it? Look at Emily's file. It's incomplete. The doctor who signed it disappeared. Now someone's trying to destroy evidence. Evidence of what? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. Carter couldn't sleep that night. Lily was stable now, resting peacefully, but his mind wouldn't stop. He pulled out the documents he had brought to the hospital, Lily's birth certificate, her medical history, insurance papers. He studied the birth certificate in the dim light, something he'd never noticed before. In the bottom corner, the hospital name looked wrong. The ink was slightly different, like it had been written in later. He held it up to the light. Underneath, he could see a faint trace of different lettering. His heart began to pound. He thought back to his wife, Rachel. She'd died 5 years ago, but before that, before Lily was born. Rachel had worked in healthcare administration. She'd never talked much about it. Said she wanted to leave that life behind. He remembered something she'd said once, late at night when she thought he was asleep. She'd been holding Lily, whispering to her, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry, but I couldn't let them take you." At the time, Carter had thought she was just being emotional. New mother anxiety. But now it felt like a confession. He needed answers. He went to the hospital records department the next morning, asked to see Lily's birth records on file. They told him they'd need to verify his identity, process the request, come back in 3 days. 3 days felt like a trap. He went back to Lily's room and found Astrid there, sitting beside his daughter's bed, just watching her sleep. She looked up when he entered, guilt flashing across her face. "I'm sorry, I should have asked. Why are you doing this?" "Because I need to know." "Know what?" Astrid stood, for the first time since they'd met. She looked vulnerable, human. "My daughter Emily died 10 years ago. Same hospital network where Lily was born. Same amber eyes. Same..." She stopped. "I found Lily's birth record in our system. It was flagged." Carter went cold. "Flagged how?" For administrative review. 10 years ago, right after Emily's death. She pulled out a printed document. I had an investigator track down the doctor who signed Emily's death certificate, Henry Barlow. He's living in a small town 3 hours from here, under a different name. Carter stared at the paper. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you deserve to know the truth, whatever it is. She paused. I'm going to see him tomorrow. Come with me, please. He wanted to say no, wanted to grab Lily and run. But he couldn't, not anymore. The questions were too loud, the coincidences too many. What if the truth is something neither of us wants? Then we deal with it together. They drove in silence. 3 hours through countryside and small towns. Henry Barlow lived in a run-down house at the edge of a dying industrial area. He was in his 60s now, thin and nervous. When he opened the door and saw Astrid, all the colour drained from his face. I knew you'd come eventually, he said quietly. They sat in his cramped living room. He wouldn't meet their eyes. Astrid leaned forward. Tell me what happened to Emily. Henry's hands shook. I signed the certificate, that's all. But she didn't die, did she? The silence was suffocating. Finally. Henry spoke. There was a program, not official, never official. Some of the administrators, they had connections, families who wanted children, families who couldn't adopt through legal means, wealthy people who didn't want the scrutiny. Carter felt sick. You're saying they stole children? Not stole, facilitated, made it look like medical errors, like deaths, then transferred the children through back channels. He looked at Astrid. Your daughter wasn't supposed to survive that night, but she did. And when the lead administrator realized who she belonged to the daughter of the board chairman, he panicked. So they faked her death? Yes. And gave her to someone else? Henry finally met her eyes. I don't know where she went. I just signed the paperwork. They told me if I ever talked, I'd be charged with malpractice, fraud, prison. He paused. I left, changed my name, tried to forget. Astrid's voice was barely a whisper. Who ran it? Who was in charge? Dermot Kane. He was assistant director then. Bernie Knox handled the logistics. They used funeral home contractors to move the children, made it look legitimate. Carter stood abruptly. My wife, Rachel, she worked in the system then. Henry looked at him for the first time. What was her name? Rachel Hale. She was an administrator at the satellite clinic. Henry's face changed. Recognition. I remember her. She was the one who... He stopped. Who what? Who took a baby? One night, just took her and left. We thought she was going to expose us, but she just vanished. Changed cities, never came back. The pieces fell into place. Rachel had rescued Emily, renamed her Lily, raised her as her own, hidden her from the people who'd stolen her in the first place. She'd lived in fear for 7 years, until a car accident ended it. Astrid's tears came silently. Lily was Emily, her daughter, alive, raised by a good man who didn't know the truth, raised by a woman who'd risked everything to save her. Carter's voice cracked. She never told me. She was protecting you, Henry said. If you'd known, you'd have been in danger too. They drove back in stunned silence. The truth was too big, too raw. Carter kept his eyes on the road. Astrid stared out the window. Finally, she spoke. What do we do now? I don't know. She's your daughter. You raised her. You love her. She's your daughter too. They arrived at the hospital after dark. Vivian met them in the parking garage. Her face was grim. Dermot knows you went to see Barlow. Bernie's been instructed to contain the situation. Astrid pushed past her. I'm done being contained. Then you're finished. The board will remove you. Dante's already drafting the paperwork. Let them. She went straight to Lily's room. The little girl was awake, drawing on a tablet. She looked up with those amber eyes. Hi, Miss Astrid. Astrid knelt beside the bed. Can I tell you something? Lily nodded. Carter stood in the doorway, watching. Astrid took a breath. A long time ago, I lost a little girl. I thought she was gone forever, but I was wrong. She wasn't gone. She was just waiting for me to find her. Lily tilted her head. Did you find her? I think I did. The girl smiled. That's good. I bet she missed you too. Carter's vision blurred. He stepped forward. Lily, honey, we need to talk about something important. But before he could continue, the door burst open, Bernie Knox and 2 security guards. Mr. Hale, you need to come with us. There's been a complaint about your presence in the hospital. Astrid stood. You're not taking him anywhere. Ms. Whitmore, this is a security matter. He's not going anywhere without me. Bernie's face hardened. Then you're both coming. They were escorted to a conference room where Dermot Kane waited. Dante Ross sat beside him, looking uncomfortable. Dermot smiled coldly. This has gotten out of hand. We're prepared to offer a settlement, Mr. Hale. We'll cover all of Lily's medical expenses, ongoing care, education fund, all of it. In exchange, you sign a non-disclosure agreement and leave quietly. Carter's voice was steel. You think you can buy silence after stealing a child? That's a serious accusation, one you can't prove. Astrid pulled out her phone. Henry Barlow's testimony, recorded, full confession. Names. Dates. Methods. She looked at Dermot. I can't prove Emily was taken, but I can prove the program existed, and that you ran it. The room went silent. Dante spoke carefully. If you release that, the hospital will be destroyed. Lawsuits, criminal charges, everything Astrid's built will collapse. I don't care. You should, because Lily needs ongoing treatment, specialized care. The kind only this hospital can provide. Dermot leaned forward. You want to burn it all down, fine, but that child will suffer for it. Carter felt trapped. Astrid closed her eyes. They were using Lily as leverage, the one thing neither of them could ignore. Vivian had been standing at the corner silently. Now she stepped forward. There's another option. Dermot resigns, effective immediately. Bernie too. We bring in external investigators. Clean house. The hospital survives, but the people responsible don't. Dermot laughed. You'd betray me. I'm protecting the institution, not you, she looked at Astrid. You do a press conference, tell the truth, limited truth, acknowledge past failures, commit to reform. The board will back you if it means avoiding worse exposure. Dante considered. It could work, if we control the narrative. Astrid looked at Carter. He gave a small nod. This wasn't perfect, but it was justice within reach. Set it up, tomorrow, full press conference. The next day. The auditorium was packed, cameras everywhere. Corbyn's slate had front row seating. Sensing blood in the water. Astrid took the podium. Carter stood in the back. Lily beside him. Astrid spoke clearly. 10 years ago, this hospital failed my family. We told you our daughter died of medical complications. That was partially true. But we didn't tell you that our systems allowed misconduct to go unchecked. That administrative failures led to her disappearance from our care. She paused. Today, I'm announcing that Emily was found, alive, safe, raised by a good family who didn't know her origins. The room erupted. Questions shouted from every direction. Astrid held up her hand. I'm also announcing the immediate resignation of our hospital director and head of security. Federal investigators will review all cases from that period. Any family who believes they were affected will be contacted and supported. Behind the scenes, FBI agents were already moving. Dermot and Bernie were arrested as they tried to leave through a side exit. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, forged documents, testimony from Henry Barlow and others who'd been too scared to speak. The press conference ended. Astrid found Carter and Lily outside. The little girl looked confused by all the attention. Astrid knelt down. Lily, I need to tell you something. A long time ago, you had a different name, Emily, and I was your mother, but then something bad happened, and a very brave woman named Rachel saved you. She became your mother, and she loved you so much. Lily processed this carefully. So, you're my first mum, and Rachel was my second mum. Yes. And Carter's my dad, always. The girl thought for a moment. Can I call you Mum, Astrid? Astrid broke. She nodded, unable to speak. Lily hugged her, over the child's head. Astrid met Carter's eyes. He was crying too. Not from loss, from relief. From the weight of finally knowing. The weeks that followed were difficult. Media scrutiny, legal proceedings, therapy for Lily to help her understand. But through it all, Carter and Astrid built something unexpected. not romance, not partnership. Something simpler. Shared parenthood. Astrid learned to make breakfast. Terrible. Burnt breakfast that made Lily giggle. Carter let Astrid pay off his debts, but insisted on working for it. He became the lead maintenance supervisor for the hospital's restructured facilities. They split custody informally. Lily stayed with Carter during the week, spent weekends with Astrid. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One afternoon, 6 months later, they stood together at Lily's school play. The girl was on stage, confident and bright. Astrid whispered, "Thank you." Carter glanced at her. For what? For raising her. For keeping her safe when I couldn't. He looked back at Lily. She saved me as much as I saved her, maybe more. You could have run. When you found out the truth, you could have taken her and disappeared. I thought about it, but she deserves to know where she came from, who she is. He paused, and she deserves to have you. After the play, they went for ice cream. Lily sat between them, talking non-stop about her performance. Astrid listened with wonder. This was what she'd lost, not just a child, but the daily, ordinary moments of being a mother. Carter watched his daughter with the same protective love he'd always had. Nothing had changed there, at one point. Lily looked up at both of them. I'm lucky, aren't I? Most kids only get 2 parents. I got 3. Masters. Astrid smiled through tears. We're the lucky ones, sweetheart. That evening, as Carter drove Lily home, she asked him a question. Dad, do you think Rachel knew about Mum Astrid? He'd wondered the same thing. I think she did. I think that's why she fought so hard to protect you. She was brave. The bravest person I ever knew. Lily was quiet for a moment. I'm glad she saved me. And I'm glad you kept me. And I'm glad Mum Astrid found me. She looked at him. Is it okay to love all of you? Carter's throat tightened. That's exactly what you should do. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Carter stood on his porch. His phone rang. Astrid. Is she okay? She's perfect. Good. A pause. Carter, thank you for trusting me, for letting me be part of this. You're her mother. That's not something I can give or take away. But you could have made it harder. You didn't. He looked up at the stars. She needs you, and honestly, I think we all needed this. The truth, the healing. He paused. It doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. It's more than a start. It's everything. They said goodnight. Inside, Lily slept peacefully. Dreams full of school plays and ice cream. Of 3 adults who'd been broken by loss and lies. Who'd found each other through impossible circumstances. Who'd chosen love over bitterness. Truth over comfort. The hospital continued its reforms. The scandal had been massive, but Astrid's decision to face it head-on had earned respect, slowly. Trust was being rebuilt, not just in the institution, but in the idea that systems could change, that people could choose accountability over cover-up. Corbin Slate won awards for his coverage, but he never exploited Lily's story. Some things were too sacred, even for a journalist who'd built his career on exposure. Vivian stayed on as COO. She'd proven her loyalty was to principles, not people. That made her invaluable. Ingrid Shaw became the new director of pediatrics. The hospital needed leaders who'd proven they'd stand up when it mattered. And somewhere in a prison cell, Dermot Kane and Bernie Knox faced the consequences of a decade of crimes, not just against Emily, against dozens of families, children who'd been stolen, parents who'd been lied to. The investigation would take years, but every day, more truth emerged, more healing began. For Carter, Astrid, and Lily, life found a rhythm. Imperfect, complicated, but honest. They built traditions. Friday movie nights, Sunday pancakes at Astrid's place, Carter teaching Lily to fix things while Astrid watched, learning a different kind of competence than the boardroom demanded. On the 1-year anniversary of their first meeting, they returned to the hospital lobby, the place where everything had changed, where a desperate father had carried his sick daughter, where a grieving CEO had seen a ghost, where impossible had become real. Lily stood between them, healthy and strong. She held both their hands. "You know what's weird? If I hadn't gotten sick that day, we might never have found each other." Carter squeezed her hand. "Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes," Astrid added softly. "But I wish you'd never had to suffer to get here." Lily shrugged with 7-year-old wisdom. "Bad things happened, but we're together now. That's what matters." They stood there for a moment, 3 people bound by biology, choice, tragedy, and hope. The lobby bustled around them, sick children arriving, worried parents, dedicated doctors, the same scene that played out every day. But now it meant something different. Now it meant that even in the darkest systems, truth could survive, that stolen children could come home, that broken people could heal together, that a single moment of recognition, a pair of amber eyes catching the light, could unravel a decade of lies and rewrite 3 lives. Astrid looked down at Lily, at the daughter she'd mourned, the daughter she'd found, the daughter she'd learned to share. "Ready to go home?" Lily smiled. "Which one?" Carter laughed. "Either one, both. They're all yours now." And for the first time in 10 years, that word felt complete. Home. Not a place, but a promise. One they'd all keep together.